Welcome to Musicians versus the World, the podcast where we explore aspects of music and musician life that may not have been covered in music school. I am your host, Christine Smith. Today we are talking about the production side of music, specifically about engineering, mixing, and producing, and how all of these things are critical to conveying the emotion of recorded music. My guest today is Vago Galindo, Latin Grammy and Grammy award-winning producer, mixer, and engineer. Vago graduated from Berklee College of Music and is currently based in Los Angeles. He has worked with an impressive list of artists, such as Juanes, Whiplash, Vale, Elvis Costello, among many others. Besides his work in the music industry, Vago has also worked in the film industry as an engineer for movie soundtracks, including La La Land, The Girl in the Spider's Web, and Beauty and the Beast. He has also worked as voiceover engineer for TV shows like Pokémon, Baby Shark, Rick and Morty, and many more. Vago is also the recording and mixing engineer for the Recording Academy's web series Reimagined and Press Play. So Vago, thank you so much for being here and welcome to Musicians versus the World.
Hello. That's I love that intro.
It's such an impressive intro. You've had such a diverse, amazing career. And now you started as a recording engineer, correct? And then turned into a mixer, and now you're producing. Can you explain to me a little bit about the differences between those different roles in the recording industry?
Right, of course. So a recording engineer, it's basically the person that's physically in the studio, capturing the sounds that are coming from an instrument or a vocal. Nowadays, it's mostly vocals because a lot of things are done in the computer. But it could be an orchestra or simply a small guitar. A mixing engineer is when everything is recorded and produced. It's you kind of try to make the emotion that the artist or the producer was getting at the point where they were creating the music. You're trying to convey that emotion to everyone else. So it's kind of like translating technical aspects into emotions, I would say. And producing nowadays, it's an interesting word, but I would say is kind of like the person that decides the direction of a song or an album or a project. But also nowadays is the person that's more hands-on on a song. So like either getting the musicians or the correct musicians to play on a song, or playing the instruments themselves, or creating VSTs, or sampling stuff from other artists, or playing instruments from your laptop so it creates paths and interesting effects. And a lot of it is also capturing the emotion from the artist. I think that's also very important.
And so you're working very closely with the artist. The artist comes to you, and you keep talking about conveying their emotion. So as a producer, how do you do that? How do you find what emotion they're going for and then bring that out of them?
It's I don't think there's a straight answer for that, but it's always trying to really understand how the artist is feeling on the day that you're working on music. Sometimes it could be something about I got heartbroken, or sometimes it's like, I just want to have fun today, so let's see what comes up, and we'll develop the story as we go, and we'll and that's the great thing about music and emotions, and is that you just don't never know what's going to happen, and understanding what the artist wants. It's really important. I feel like that, to me, it's always the main thing. Even sometimes everyone has their own insecurities, right? So having their own, you might get in, and this happens to everyone, but you might get insecure about something, but also being the person, it's kind of like a support system, that you're there for, no, this is really good. Or it's like, you know what, we tried it, maybe we should try another thing.
Gotcha. Yeah. And there's sense. A great quote that you said. It does make sense. Absolutely. There's a great quote that you said in another interview. It said, you said, embrace the chaos, breathe, choose what you like about it, and then repeat. Is that your creative process in all of this? I love it, by the way. I think I'm going to live by that mantra now.
So. Yeah, no, it's amazing. Like we were talking before that. That's like I kind of forgot about that, but I really live by that. At the beginning, I feel like there shouldn't be any judgments or any like, oh, is this like it's it's chaos. Like nothing's labeled. The colors are all
Yeah.
wrong. I have like when I'm mixing, I have a very specific like color coding system, and like drums are on top, then bass,
Right.
or drums, percussion, bass, guitars. Like it's super like organized. But while we're making music, it's like it's all over the place. It's like even sometimes like I'll have like tracks that it's like it's a kick drum, but then the kick drum turns into like a guitar because we were like kind of like, oh, we need to go fast and I don't want to stop. So it's like it's literally like it's chaos. And then, after that you take a deep breath, you look at it a little bit more like analytical, and it's like or just like take a second to actually, you know, look at it vicariously, and it's okay, I really like this. It's so cool. I get so excited even when things doesn't go the way you think they're gonna go. It's like it's so exciting to see how like I have started songs, let's say, for like from drums, and then like 2 days later, like those drums have completely disappeared from the song, but it developed into something else that wouldn't have had come if I didn't have those drums first.
I can see how you're talking about embracing that chaos, and you just kind of follow where the music is taking you, and then later come back and organize it and put all of the
Right.
files in different pretty colors. And
Yeah, and then everything's labeled, everything's like, okay, this is here, like, but it's really like wearing different hats, with the same computer, kind of like, because and it's funny because like some of my friends have seen like when I'm mixing and everything's like, no, this has an order, like this is like how things are, like it's very like detail oriented. It's like, how can I do, like it's super like like organized, like I said before. But if you look at the production session, it's like I don't even understand it some of the times. Yeah.
but it's different levels of organization for different times in the creative process.
Yeah, even like with names, because with names on mixing, I'm like, okay, this is like kick one, which is kick two. Like they actually mean different things for me now. Uh, when I'm producing, it's all called like audio track one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, 10, 11, 12. It has no names. But also, I think that's now that I'm saying that out loud. But also, it's kind of cool because I really don't get any judgment from the tracks, from even the name. It's like maybe this started as a kick drum and it turns into a snare, or a melody, because maybe the kick drum creates a frequency that I love, and I sample the frequency, and then I turn it into a synth, and then that kick drum is no longer a kick drum, it's a melody for the song.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's incredible.
it's very chaotic.
That's
But
that's amazing and so creative. I never would think of turning a kick drum into a melody by going through all the steps. That's incredible. Wow.
Yeah, it's chaos.
So now,
Yeah.
chaos. Embrace the chaos. I love it.
Basically.
So as you're explaining this, I can see how the mix itself and the recording and all of the post-production can really create emotion. So it's not just the singer, not just the instrumentalist, it's how you put them together. And as I was listening to different artists that you've worked with Whiplash, Juanes, Vale, Elvis Costello. I listened to them and I could hear, like, for example, Vale, their voices, their vocals are right up front and center, and they're so close, and it almost sounds like they're whispering in your ear as they're singing to you. Whereas Whiplash, the singer, sounds like they're on stage and they're like back sitting really well mixed into their band. So I kind of feel like I'm at a live show with them. And it's those little details, I think, that make a huge difference in the emotion of the song. And I really admire the way that you mix all of these different artists so differently. Are you the one that makes those decisions, or is that something they come and listen? They're like, oh no, I want this a little bit closer or farther away?
I usually make those decisions. I usually for example, Vale is a great example because the first day that we actually met in person was the first day that we were in the studio making an album, and that album, the first album I did with them, which is called Linea Recta, I was co-producing the album with Sebastian Chris, who's like he's kind of like my mentor, and he's like a very prolific uh, audio engineer producer. He's won like 20 Grammys or something like that. And with Juanes, and I grew up listening to Juanes, so I was like, what am I doing here? But for example, they're twins. They're great singers. They've been singing together the whole time. We gotta record them at the same time. Like it's very obvious for me. But like Sebastian and Juanes was like, no, because technically, it's like there's gonna be leakage. It's gonna be, and I'm like, but that's the magic. Like that's how, like, we can't mess that up. Like that's no, like they're gonna record together, and it's something that they didn't. I think that was the first time they were at a studio in Miami. So it was like things like that. I feel like really help translate. And this is like a technical thing, right? How are we going to record them? Are they going to be in the same room? Are they going to use the same mic or different mics? Like, how are they going to look at each other? Are they not going to look at each other? Like, are they going to hear each other? But it's like, and the way they sing most of the time is they actually take off their headphones so they can like physically in the space listen to each other, because that's just how they've been singing their whole life. Then there's that. Then there's like Whiplash, who they're a rock band, so it's like they're kids, and they're like 18 to like 20-year-old kids. They really, that's like a rock and roll kind of environment where it's like you try to get that, this is like, okay, we got to make an album, but also it's kind of, you kind of have to capture the um not child, I guess the immaturity, you're a teenager. Well, I guess you're no longer a teenager when you're 20, right? But it's you know a young
You're still
adult,
young.
a young adult.
Yes.
So you try to get that like emotion. So it has to be like, you have to create the environment for that. So
Right.
so it has to be kind of like very like informal. Has to be very like, everyone's kind of like having a good time or playing games, or bothering each other because they're like brothers by now. Um,
Hmm.
so it's really like trying to get that.
Yeah.
Um, and then I mean, there's songs where you have to, like with Vale, for example, there was one song where they couldn't sing because it was so emotional for them, and
Oh.
it's like, and it's and it was like, okay, like let's create an appropriate environment for you guys to be able to, because it's also okay, like, well, that's the emotion, like, so how do I, or how do we um translate that like feeling that you're feeling right now because you wrote the song and it's hitting you hard. How do we make that translate for everyone else? And funny enough, I was showing that song to somebody else like 2 days ago, and she's like, "Thank you for making me cry at midnight." And I'm like,
Oh.
it's like, cool. That's the. I mean, it was like, that's so cute, and that's literally what we were envisioning. So, yay, mission accomplished.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. So, as well as music and making people cry at midnight, which is so wonderful. You also work on films. You worked on La La Land, and you worked on lots of musicals. And I can imagine that is its own challenge in itself, because now you've got a lot of people that you're talking to, not just the artists. You've got directors, producers, like film producers. How is that different?
Well, that is very, it's very different and also kind of similar. But I also worked on a musical actually it is the first Latin American musical. It's the first musical turned into a movie that's actually, I think, is the first musical that's in Spanish, like completely in Spanish. made on a film called La Usurpadora, which that one is a remake from an old telenovela. So, for example, on that one, I had to. That one was interesting. I had to fly to Mexico City and stay there for like 6 months to work on just recording the vocals. Because and that one was like, okay, we need to get the songs finished before we even start like production, because they need to sing through the songs and they need to like set the stage for the song. And so it was very like, I was talking to like people from, well, not only me, also, but like, because Sebastian Chris was a producer. So, and then I actually started as a recording engineer on that project. I ended up being a co-producer because I just got so involved on the project. But it's like, it's things like, like you're recording the vocals and they're like, well, but if we imagine like how this is going, and it's like, well, the set designer is right here in the other room. Can we just talk to the set designer and we'll like kind of get in the mood and figure out what's gonna happen? And there was a lot of dancing on that film, so it's also like, okay, like talking to the dancers. It's like, how long is this chorus gonna last, or how long? How, like, can we stretch this? Can we change this? It's very um, like trying to figure out how to make everything work. But the cool thing about musicals, or at least for me, it makes my job easier. But the cool thing about musicals is that it's about the music. So
Hmm.
I we were like, well, this doesn't work for music. It's like, oh, okay, well, that's okay. Well, we have to change everything
Oh,
else so the music works. It's like, yeah,
right.
it's
So
like,
you
okay.
had recorded, yeah, so you had recorded everything before production because once they're on set, they have to dance to the music that you've recorded or lip sync to the music that you've recorded, right?
Yeah. Some of it. I mean, some of the songs on stage, for example, for um, things like La La Land or Beauty and the Beast, also they were most of it was recorded live,
Oh, okay.
like on set of the vocals, and not all of it. There were some things that, because it's when you're shooting, and you do a scene for like 20 times on a full day with, and the full makeup,
Yeah.
and you have to look amazing. Sometimes the vocals are not,
Right.
you're for the actors, it's extremely difficult because there's so much pressure. I don't think people are aware of like how much pressure like actors have when there's like a huge production and suddenly it's all like looking at them and they have to be like perfect.
Yeah. And then
uh,
singing on top of it would
yeah, and
be,
then singing, and it's like,
mm,
so some of it it's like overdubs later, but a lot of it um, is done live. We tried that on La Usurpadora, but honestly, the takes they did before were so good, and at the end of the day, it's literally like, okay, A B, and it's like, yeah, every single time we would go back to the original recordings, and it's like, no, it just feels like I believe the storyline, for example, which is always important. Yeah, so it's, it's kind of, I mean, it's very different also because you need to be working on a film. You have to be really organized, like that the chaotic part was part like working when we were doing the music. That's like, we'll try a lot of things, but also there's, you're a little bit more contained because it's like, it's not, it's like, we need to record this by today because we're like making, you know uh, the choreography has to be done also, and they need to learn the choreography. So it's
right.
like there's more dates, and there's a lot of people freaking out.
I can imagine.
You have to do a lot of like, no, no, this is okay, everything's gonna be okay. I had to learn a lot about departments I had no idea that existed, or that in music they they mean a different thing, and then it's like, wait, what? Like, for example, one thing was like, they were calling me, hey, so like the publishers wants to talk to you, and I'm like, why? Like I don't. And for them, it was like publishers meant like the marketing team. They wanted to talk to you
Oh,
about some of
okay.
the things for the music. But it's funny because me it's like, oh well, what they were like, so how do you do this? And I was like, well, how do you want me to do it? And it's like, wait, like, and then it's like, everyone's trying to do their job, but it's like, okay, what's the as it was more like, oh wait, are you telling me how to do my thing, or am I like telling you what I did and you kind of just live by it? It's that to me, I think was like a little bit of a challenge trying to figure out, what how you would go by things. And to me, I honestly learned that I just go by my gut, and I'll stop going by my gut until somebody tells me to stop.
And how'd that work out? That worked out pretty well.
It worked out great. We on movies again with the dates and everything. Everyone's like kind of like but I felt like on the music side of things, like we all had our stuff together, and we were like very like diligent on delivering things on dates and not missing any single deadline. So
Right.
it was chaos, but it was organized chaos in that
Organized
moment.
chaos.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty impressive. So now that's different than a voiceover coordinator, or that you were for some of these television shows, right?
Yeah, well, I was an engineer, not the well. I
You were the
guess also,
engineer for that one. Okay.
so I guess you're kind of right, but the title is recording engineer or voice
Okay.
over engineer. I don't even know anymore.
So that you were the one that was like pressing record and having them take the takes over again, or having them try things like that, right?
Let me explain how it usually works.
Okay.
So when you're recording dialogue, it could be, and usually you record dialogue. For example, if you're for anyone that doesn't know, when you're working on a film or a TV series, sometimes there's or animations. The video animators will send a video, and then you actually have to record the dialogue with the actors that are in the movie or in the animation. But so you go to the booth, and that's there's the voice actor, then there's the engineer, that would be me, and then there's a director, and sometimes part of the team of the film or the TV show or the animation will be there, or now it's like through Zoom, after the pandemic. And there, so the director is kind of like the producer of the session. But really, when you have a team, like the whole thing kind of starts to blend a little bit. Um, 'Cause you spend like I spend like with actors and directors, because usually a session could go for like 8 hours, like straight 8 hours. So it's like, those people, you become more acquainted to them, and it's like, oh, should we try this, or should we do this, or like maybe this part we change the dialogue a little bit. So it's interesting. That one's very organized. Like that one, I actually think that really helped me to embrace the chaos, because that one's like working in VO really like made me be extremely organized with things and follow deadlines, because that one's not like, oh, sorry, we didn't write the song because we were filling it. It's like, hey, like this is coming out tomorrow, we need to like deliver like the 200 lines like today. There's no like no can do. Yeah, so that one's very like, you really follow a guideline in that sense. It's what's the word? It's very hermetic. Like it's really like, okay, this is what we're doing, and this is what we need to do to accomplish it, and we'll do it, and we'll go like, we'll follow the guidelines, and we'll try to make it done as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Uh, it also helps on a weird, well, not weird, but a interesting fact for me is that VO really helped me to be like get better at my chops at Pro Tools and like the computer, because you move really fast. So you have to like be super quick.
Yeah.
So that really actually really was a game changer for me.
Seems like you've learned something very valuable from each of these different types of recording avenues. So you got really, really fast at Pro Tools with the voiceover work, and then you learned to trust your gut in the film industry, and then when doing music, you embrace the chaos, and it kind of all comes together.
Exactly. Yeah. And you have to try you have to try to have fun while doing this. Like it's I still get excited about any project I get to work on. It's just like, oh my God, like sounds exciting. Okay. You know.
Sound is exciting. I think it's really, really great. Growing up, I played the piano, and so I was much more classically inclined. So I didn't pay attention much to the sound engineering part of these albums I was listening to or things I heard on the radio. But as I've gotten older, I've come to really, really appreciate the sound engineering and the recording and the mixing that goes into these albums. I think it takes so much talent and so much hard work. So I think it's just great that you've
I
been able
don't
to do that with your life.
Yeah, no, I was talking with this with a friend a few months ago, but we were talking about like what we were listening to when we were really young. And it's funny, like and I don't know why, but I like really liked well recorded things when I was really young. Like I was like there were bands that everyone loved, but there were this is songs. Yeah, we were talking about bands that were prepared from the 60s or 70s or 80s or 90s. So some of it wasn't the technology didn't exist that you can record like anywhere and it'll sound great. So there were a bunch of things like for example that bands from Argentina that I just didn't like because I really didn't like the drum sound that they had because I thought it sucked compared to like what they were doing in England or in the US because they have like these amazing studios and these amazing facilities. Um, and it was funny or interesting because we just I was like, wow, I like even when I was really young and had no I mean I wasn't thinking about that. It was just like, oh no, this is cool. Like I like this. Um, like the big sound of like things like Bon Jovi. Like it was like like it sounds like you're like the snare is like this like cannon or like this explosion. It's like, oh, that's really really cool. Um, so yeah, just a little side way of the of things
Yeah,
that
so you
I
always
used to
knew it was
do.
important. You could
Yeah,
always
well,
tell.
I didn't know. To me, it was just something it was kind of subconsciously in the back of my mind.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's great. Now, you've worked on so many projects. In your bio, I only listed just a fraction of the amazing musicians that you've worked with. What was a very difficult project that you think you've learned the most from? What's something that gave you a big challenge that you had to overcome?
Big challenge. So one of the big ones I would say was that, and this is not one project, but it was during the pandemic. Everything had to be done remotely, right? So so it was a lot of patience and understanding that like I'm a geek, right? I like uh, when I was in college, I would like go to sleep and I would read the Pro Tools manual to like it's like it's really geeky, like it's
I've
terrible.
read that. That's very dry. That's very dry.
And I was like, oh yes, and you can do this command, like I'll like it's silly, but I can't believe I'm saying that.
Hats off to you. That's pretty impressive.
But anywho, so it's like not everyone is like that. Actually, no one is like that. There should be like that. But so suddenly like trying to explain a voice actor how to okay like I send you a computer with an interface, a mic, a cable, a stand. Like there's all like these very little things that for me are extremely obvious, and it's like trying to explain somebody else how to do it and like be very understanding that a lot of people might get really frustrated, and it's like okay, like take a deep breath, like we can get through this is going to take like a second. um things like I remember or explain them how to use Zoom, or like how to like logging into, it's like, oh, I don't know my password. It's like, okay, well, uh, trying to be like really patient with people that are not tech savvy.
Yeah. Oh, so you would send them all of the equipment they needed. So you'd send them a computer and the interface, which is the thing that gets the microphone into the computer, and then the microphone. You'd send them all of that, and then they would have to set it up themselves.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then trying to make music or record dialogue.
Over
It's
Zoom too, right?
over Zoom. Yeah. Yeah. Well, actually, we an album that got nominated for a Grammy. The Boy Named If by Elvis Costello. We did it. We did all that remotely. So
Really?
yeah. So it was like that was very interesting because it was like people in their 60s that I think some of them didn't have a laptop even, you know. Um,
Wow.
so it was like trying to get the band to like set up the equipment. Um,
Oh, the whole band.
whole band, yeah. Um, some of them had it already, but try for the whole band to like, okay, like what do you need? Okay, well, I'll send you this. It's like, okay, like things like if you use Pro Tools, there's a thing called an iLog, which is like a small USB that's like what secures all your
Yeah.
licenses.
Mm-hmm.
One of them, one person of the band was like, it's so small, like I thought it was garbage. Like,
Oh no.
uh,
You're
well,
like, no, you need that or else we can't. Oh no.
it's like, no, can you go into the garbage can and like really find the thing? Because you
Oh
know,
no.
like things like that.
Oh no.
So
So that's interesting. So how did you do that? Did you have a backing track? I mean, you can't record all of them at the same time. Did you just do each musician at a
yeah,
time and then
well,
mix them
well,
later?
well. The one of the magics of there, and I'll mention him again, but the producer was Sebastian Chris, who produced the Boy Named If. So what we were trying to accomplish with that is that, so for example, Elvis, who's actually also like very like with uh, like very professional, like no, very efficient with technology. Like he like got it. Like he had never used Pro Tools and in like 2 days he was like sending tracks. Like it's insane. Um, but so let's say like Elvis will write. I actually that give them that was very interesting because that gave everyone a lot of time to really like work on their parts, because let's say Elvis will send like a vocal track and a guitar, and then he will send it to everyone. So then the drummer will like, oh, I have this idea. Do you guys like it? And then the bass player was like, no, actually, well, I I kind of had this bass line, so it was like very like back and forth, like all the time.
Okay.
It was really cool. It was like I really felt like I was watching like kids from high school like making music together. It's like it was really like, because also this is the first time that they do that because they always record together. Yeah, and it really sounds like they're like 16-year-old kids playing together. Also, that's the funny part. The album really sounds like they were playing together, which it's we were all like
Yeah.
very surprised. Yeah.
Well, yes, because they're all in different rooms, different houses, different. Yeah. That's incredible. You were
Yeah.
able to make them sound like they were all together. Wow. So what projects are you working on now? Do you have anything coming out soon or any projects coming up you're excited about?
Yeah, I'm very excited about a bunch of things. I am working with this Mexican rapper called Sabino, who's like, um, we're doing a like, it's an interesting album, and I'm very connected to it, but it's a breakup album, so it's like kind of it's a 7 song because it's 7 days, but it's like every day kind of represents a different um, feeling of how you feel when you break up with somebody. So sometimes it's like, oh, I miss this person, like what is life? And the other one's like, no, 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 I'm better than this. Like, oh my god, like I am so much better than like I deserve so much more, So it's really like a roller coaster of things. So we're doing that. Also working on new material for Whiplash and Vale, which I'm always very excited about. Then there's this artist that I've been working with a lot called Noel Chagris from Argentina, um, and we just did an album that got released like a month ago. But with him, he's very like it's very cool because we connect in a way that's we're both very like like music, like oh you like literally like we were at a rehearsal for the release party of the album, and I think I was there. Like, I'm not a pianist, but I was just like, I just played a chord, and he's like, "Oh, that okay." And then suddenly, like, he started like making a progression. I was like, "Wow!" If we add and like this is like it was at the end of a rehearsal, right? So it was like we didn't have to stay there or anything, but suddenly we stayed like there for like 15 minutes more, and like kind of develop a song. And it's like okay, and he's on a big like he it's part of a duo who's like it's one of the biggest acts in Latin America and the pop world called Sin Bandera. So with him, it's like he's on tour. I think he's in Colombia right now on tour, but it's like okay, like maybe ah, and he also likes to be in person. So it's like maybe like we'll meet in like a month and a half, and like maybe bring some ideas, or maybe no, don't bring anything, and we'll just like meet and like whatever whatever happens. So that one always gets me excited because it's very like it's chaos. It's
Yeah,
chaos
it's the full
everywhere.
on embrace the chaos right there.
Yeah. So that's what's been happening. I've been working with this composer called Juan Carlos Enriquez, who we've been. That's that one's interesting because I never know what we're working on. I have no idea what things are for. So I just hear the music and it's like, okay, I think this is like a fight, right? So I'll try to convey the emotion of a fight, I think, hopefully, or then because it's it's all NDAs and things. So I just never, I'm so out of the loop, but also I try to keep the emotion or what I think should be the emotion for whatever project I'm working
Oh,
on.
so you just have he can't give you any background. I know with the non-disclosure he can't talk too much, but he can't say
Nothing,
like they are fighting here. He can't give you anything.
nothing. It's like he's like, do your best. It's like, just like, just give me a hint. He's
That's
like,
always fun. Well, there you go. Embrace the chaos with that one too,
yeah,
huh?
yeah. No, that I mean, it's fun. I actually really like that challenge because actually that one's a very challenging one. Not knowing what things are for or what
Hmm.
the emotion is.
Yeah.
Also, because when you put an image to a sound, the sound it really changes. Like it really like you could. There's a lot of music that a lot of people wouldn't like unless they see it with an image because it really helps translate the emotion, which it's the whole thing with things like Stranger Things where there's suddenly songs reappearing that I see kids in their 18s listening to Kate Bush. It's like Bush, or I don't know how you say the last name, but it's um like wait what? It's like yeah, because the thing, and it's like oh okay
Because it
wow
has that emotion from the show that all of a
yeah
sudden gives it a new meaning and now they love it.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, Vago, I have loved your stories. You are you are so much fun. I can see why all of these musicians love working with you. As we finish up, do you have any advice for musicians or aspiring musicians? Um, Maybe if they want to work with an engineer, or maybe a some advice for people who want to become a producer or a mixer or an engineer. Either
Yeah.
one is fine.
Right. Yeah. I have it's more of I think one of the most important things about um I don't know if I'm just gonna stick with saying it for music. It's that um, rather than technicalities or being great musician, I really think that, or not a great musician, but like a virtuoso musician, is that what really matters is it's having an opinion. Like your musical taste is, it's really like what makes you um, interesting, if that makes sense, or what makes you valuable. Like really having your opinion. Like a quick example is like sometimes like somebody sent me a song actually 2 days ago, and I was like, "This is an amazing song, but I really don't like the drums. Like I detest them. I don't know if that's a word in English, but I don't like the
Sure
drums."
is. Yeah.
That's what I meant. And the artist was like, "Wow, I'm so happy you said that, because that's I I really don't like the drums either, and I didn't know that was it. That that's why I didn't like the song." And it's like, right, so let's take them out. So things like that maybe people are afraid to say, like, so like, also that, like, I used to be, I mean, I was so shy, but now, like, I feel like, I mean, I'm still very introverted and shy, but when at the time of being, like, if you're the producer, like, you need to, like, have an
Right.
opinion and make a stand on things. It's I just think that's like what really sets apart. So, like, because you can be a great, like, beat maker, but if you don't have an opinion, or if you don't, like, like say what you think, or like try to, like, try to experiment or embrace the chaos, you 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 really, like, you know embracing the chaos, or embracing, like, who you are. It's really like what sets you apart. For I don't think that's why I was, like, a little bit dubious at the beginning about saying this, but I don't think it only applies to music. I think it applies to, anything in life. But, it's the I might be wrong, but at least for me, and me making music, it's really, like, what I think it's, like, essential to be a producer, or be an engineer. Like, anyone can record vocals, anyone can play guitar, anyone can make beats, but like, really having your opinion is what people are like, "Oh, I didn't know you could do that," or, "Oh, I didn't see this thing in this way or shape or form." Like the thing I said about the kick drum, like, I I actually have never done that, but it sounds really cool, and now I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna make a kick drum into a melody.
Okay, I want to hear that when you do that. Please send it over.
Right. But things like that, it's just trusting your gut, and
Yeah.
following your what you feel and think. I think it's really important.
Yeah, very wise. Very wise. Well, Vago Galindo, thank you so much for being here. It has been an absolute joy talking with you and hearing all of your wonderful stories and learning from you. So thank you so much for your time.
Oh, no, my pleasure. Anytime.